Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 330. My name is John Morgan. Cold coffee is with me on a beautiful Thursday afternoon here in Las Vegas for episode number 330. 330 consecutive weeks of MMA content.
That's ballin'.
That is 6.34615384615 years straight.
I was like, what the hell is he? I was like, what are you starting to break down? That's crazy. That is crazy.
More than six consecutive years without missing a single week. I don't brag on us enough about that, so I'm going to brag a little bit to get the day started this afternoon. I think it's because I'm in such an excited mood. You know, Cold Coffee, we get excited for the big pay-per-view events. Of course, you know, that's when we go to live venues now and crowds and all that. But this card this week has got me excited.
I get excited about that?
Well, I get excited. You don't get excited. You get excited when you can stay home and watch it on TV. I get excited to go to the big venues, to go to the pay-per-views, to get the crowd back in the action. But I'm excited about this week. I will say, though, I am excited about this week because I think this card is fun. I think this is UFC on ESPN 27 is fun. I will say this. We got an email literally seconds before we hit record today on this particular episode that is not so fun now, and that is, unfortunately, we just found out we're going to have to start wearing masks again back at the UFC Apex. Clark County here in Las Vegas has, I wouldn't say declared a state of emergency, but I guess they're seeing rising numbers in COVID, and so they're taking actions in basically all indoor businesses in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas sits. Are now required to wear masks indoors. And I guess, even though the Apex, I don't know, I guess it's a place of business. I mean, business is being held there, so I guess so, even though there's not transactions and sales and things like that taking place. And we're not really employees either, by the way. Yeah. We're going in there and working with somebody else, but unfortunately it looks like that's going to apply to us, and we're going to be back in masks this week. So I was all excited. I was all excited to sit down and talk about UFC on ESPN 27. I will say, I mean, look, we wore masks for more than a year because we were required to, and that was fine. And I'm not, I'm not to politicize it or whatever, but it is what it is. But I'm not going to lie, it was feeling good. It was feeling good not to have those masks on anymore. I'm kind of bummed to have to put them back on.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if part of it, too, I think it's just them covering their bases just to be safe, just to keep the overall county and the commission happy. I wonder if maybe part of it, now that they're starting to sell some packages, the VIP packages, the tickets, that they're bringing in money at the venue, maybe then they're like, okay, we are kind of acting as like a business because they, they're bringing in the public to a legit event. But it feels like even if they weren't, I feel like they probably would have made that decision anyways. They've kind of followed the line before. I mean, I think if they really wanted to, you figure that it's a private business that wasn't doing any sort of thing. You figure they could have just been like, screw you, Nevada. We're going to do what we want. But I think they kind of just did along. But you're right. Ultimately, we did it for the whole last year, whatever. Putting a mask back on is fine. It's not a biggie. Whatever we need to do. There are some people saying this measure doesn't go far enough, that it should be other things going on. Is what it is. I'm not looking forward to have to kind of wear things back, but honestly, if any portion of kind of what they've been saying about this Delta variant and its communicability and all the other stuff, whatever we need to do, I don't care. I'll wear a mask. It doesn't matter. Even at the casino where I go to next door and watch movies there, they have signs now at the Palace Station that are saying like, hey, wear your masks if you can. So, wearing a mask isn't too big of a deal for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I think the big thing to notice really is just that I think this goes to prove, why the UFC and Dana White have been saying, hey, we're going to stay at the Apex for the rest of the year, because I think that this is a very real possibility in other markets as well, of kind of things we feel like they're moving forward and we feel like we're progressing towards the right thing where we're going to have full arenas and all that, but things can change in an instant. And I think this is a reason why we haven't heard if that London event is actually going to happen or not. It seems like it's going to happen, but it's these municipalities kind of making changes and moving backwards. And again, like I said, we try to avoid talking too much about COVID because this thing has, controlled our lives for a year and a half now. But I think this is what's important to notice is that, man, everything is still in flux. There's nothing guaranteed right now. Things can move backwards. So something to think about as you're mapping out the UFC schedule and kind of thinking about what the future of the company looks like right now. So, all right, UFC on ESPN 27 is this week Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw in what is an absolutely fantastic main event. As far as I'm concerned, it is a number one contenders fight. Winner of this very, very much has a shot to go fight for the title, especially if it's Corey Sandhagen. I don't see how you could deny him in the least, man. The run that he's been on since the loss is just absolutely fantastic, and he's able to beat TJ Dillashaw, especially if it's something convincing. I just don't see how you would not have him against the winner of Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan whenever that does happen. TJ Dillashaw, maybe you can make the argument whether or not he would deserve to get back in it. He, as he says, he is the champion who never lost his title. It was stripped from him, but it was stripped from him for a very good reason. This is not one of those things where, you couldn't fight in a week, so we had to make an interim title, and we ended up pulling this thing off you. I mean, obviously, he had the USADA suspension. So I kind of want to get your take on this. This is, I think, the really key topic of the week is how do we treat TJ Dillashaw and where do we, look at his career and that sort of thing. And so what I'll do is play a little bit of the audio. I'm not going to play the whole thing. If you want to see the full video, TJ Dillashaw did speak with the media for about 20 minutes, and that's up on the MMA Junkie YouTube channel. It's over at MMA Junkie as well. But I will play you the portion of the conversation that I had with him, and then we can talk about kind of what we think about is going on with TJ Dillashaw at this point. So here he is addressing the media at Media Day ahead of his return from a 2-year suspension after testing positive for EPO. This is TJ Dillashaw. Welcome back, TJ.
Appreciate it.
So Fight Week Media Day, is it a day that you've been looking forward to, or is it a day that you've been absolutely dreading? What's your thought?
I guess looking forward to. I like Fight Week. Fight Week still that nervous energy to get out there and perform. Questions asked about the fight. For me, this is recovery week. It's kind of a weird thing to say that everyone comes in here and makes weight, but for me, it's time to recover, make the body feel good, and get out there and show off.
But this fight week's different than a normal fight week, right?
Yeah.
The questions everybody wants to ask.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So is it difficult to have to go back? Because I imagine this is something you want to leave behind, right? So is it difficult to know every interview I do, I'm going to have to talk about the suspension and EPO and all that?
No, man. That's kind of why I was so upfront about it anyways. It's kind of like doing your own therapy, getting it off your chest right away. Nothing I haven't said is, everything's already been said. I didn't hide behind anything. I put it all out there, and it is what it is. It's something you just gotta. I'm a very mentally tough guy, and it's not gonna ever break me.
Is this one mentally tougher than normal? Because like if there's one slip in your performance, if there's one step down, people go, "Told you that guy can't do it without the EPO." Are you thinking about that at all?
Not at all, man. And there's not gonna be a slip in my performance. I'm gonna get out there and look dominant. So. It's going to be a great one.
Yeah. Of course, the question everybody has, they want to know one time or multiple times. And Cody Garbrandt came out, and he's like, I've been doing it for years. So, what did you think, first of all, I guess, when he made that statement? Did you see it?
I didn't know he made the statement. I don't really pay attention to everything going on. I don't watch many fights unless I'm fighting you. I don't really pay attention to the sport for the most part other than what I'm doing, I'm immersed in the gym. I'm immersed in my training. Other than that, I'm in family life and business. But for him saying that, it's kind of ignorant because everything's posted out there on the internet. USADA put me under a microscope after I failed that drug test. I got these emails just showing that I was being drug tested. And I was like, well, I haven't been drug tested today. But they went back and drug tested me. So they keep an A and B sample. They retested all my samples from back from when they very first started. I think it was right after my Cruz fight. And all of them came back flying colors. So people can say what they want. And, of course, there's going to be those speculations. That's the reason of putting you on blast, right? Because they don't want people to cheat. If you don't want to cheat, then don't go through my footsteps, right? So, those questions are going to come. Those comments are going to be there. Those thoughts are going to be there. But it's public knowledge that, nothing's going to hinder it.
Do you think it'll ever be fully behind? I mean, do you think you'll have to hear about this like every fight for the rest of your career?
I don't think so. I think it's going to erase after Saturday. They're going to come out there and see how good I look.
Very nice. So you were supposed to fight a couple months ago, right? Suffered a cut in the training. Is that what happened? I guess what happened and what was your mindset then? Because I imagine you're thinking about this amazing comeback story, and then it's like, now I got to pull out of a fight. What was your thought there?
Super pissed, to be honest, because we were 13 days out from the fight. I was drilling, just doing some drills, some kickboxing drills with takedowns and stuff, and just wrong timing with my teammate. He dipped his head as I shot a shot, and we hit a headbutt, and it was a massive cut. So I had been taking the stitches out 4 days before the fight, so there's no way I was gonna be able to do it. Bummed because camp went so well, everything was feeling perfect, and just my emotion of wanting to get back and do this thing already, right? So it had been 2 years, and then May, and now it's gonna be 2.5 years, right? So just long camp, yeah.
Was it important for you to keep the matchup together? I mean, because why was that important for you to keep the matchup together?
Yeah, I was afraid that they were going to just kind of give Sandhagen someone else, right? So that was my biggest worry, was that this is the fight I wanted. He's number one contender. I couldn't fight for the belt because of the debacle they're going through. This is the next best thing. It's a great fight for me. I know the fight that I can win and get out there and perform very well. So I wanted to make sure it was going to stay the same opponent. So I told him, I'm supposed to fight May 8th. I was like, push it to the end of May, that beginning of the June card. They wanted to make sure that we were still a main event, and the soonest main event they had was July 24th, so now we're here.
Does the history together between you guys, does it factor into this at all, or does that not matter in a real fight?
It doesn't. I mean, for me, it's nice to know. I've always done very well against guys that I've trained with. I'm a very good guy about game planning. I know where guys' weaknesses are at. And it's nice for me to know that, but it all matters when the lights turn on. And you can talk about practice all you want, but we ain't here to talk about practice. We're here to do it in front of everyone.
Nice. Are you looking at this as a number one contender fight? I mean, has it been told to you at all, or is that the way you're viewing it?
It's definitely a number one contender fight. This is a real title fight, to be honest. I was not very impressed with Aljamain and Jan in their last fight. I think Corey Sandhagen's the toughest in the weight class right now, and this is a true title fight. I'm the true champ coming back, and it's time to prove it.
Is there either one of those guys you'd rather fight for the title?
I think Jan, he's the better fighter. Watching that last performance, he did very well with his game plan against Sterling, and I think he'll win the next fight, so I'd probably rather fight him.
Last thing for me, I guess, what's the goal here overall? I mean, I know you want to win, you want to get back to your title, but I'm just wondering, I mean, like, your reputation and all that's happening, I mean, are you hoping to rehab that at all, or people to leave that behind, or have you just kind of turned on the world and say, I'm not worried about it anymore?
I mean, excuse my language, but fuck your reputation, you know what I mean? I mean, you got to worry about yourself. I have a great life. I have a great family. I'm just worried about my coaches, my teammates, my family. Other than that, I could care less. You can't be. I've been in this game too long to want to scroll through the comments and think what other people fucking think that are sitting behind their computers and not having anything to achieve for.
All right, so there was TJ Dillashaw. Here's what I think Cold Coffee is. I honestly get the feeling that, there's so much to talk about here. I mean, how do we treat his past? How do we look at his previous accomplishments? Does everything that he's ever done have an asterisk next to it? And how do we treat him now? And does he get to come back at that level? And is he fighting for a title right away? And boy, it was funny. As we were streaming that, of course, you were streaming the media day. I was watching the live chat. And I guess maybe monitoring a YouTube live chat is probably not the best way to get your take on public opinion, because it's a little bit of a cesspool at times. But I guess, man, kind of the feeling that I got is that everybody's mind is made up one way or the other, and it's either this guy is a cheater and everything that he's ever done is through cheating and he doesn't even deserve to be here, or, hey, I'm a fan, he addressed it, he apologized for it, he did his time, let's bring him back. And I guess I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle, you know what I mean? Personally, me, yes, I do believe people deserve second chances in life. We all make mistakes, and we all have done dumb things. And I know that I have done some incredibly dumb things over the course of my life, my professional career. Unfortunately, I was given second opportunities in all those things, and I'm here today. And I believe in that. I believe in second chances. But I do think that there is at least a little bit of a question. I know TJ is saying, look, I did EPO once. It was that cut down to flyweight. It was wearing me out. I had to do this, and I got caught, and I'm a cheater, and I'm sorry, and let's go. And I appreciate that. Like, on the one hand, I really, really appreciate that because, man, I'm so tired of I took this, Thai sex pills, and I guess, it's not, just these weird stories that we've heard over the years for him to just man up and say, I did it. But I do think that it's fair to say, listen, I know that USADA went back and tested those B samples and all that, but we just don't know. Like, we really don't know, right? I mean, I know he says it, that he only did it one time, but I don't know that I believe that 100%. And so I think he deserves a second chance, but at the same time, I don't think you can totally say that he was clean before that one fight.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to, not take it for face value. And there is the part of you that says, oh, well, if he did it once, more than likely he probably did it another time. But again, without proof and without just a statement from a guy that doesn't like him sort of saying this went on forever, this went on for a long time, ask anybody. Well, you're the only one that's really been saying that. To how he came out and addressed it, I appreciated what he did. I appreciate how he came out. I thought it was kind of funny how his manager and others were just like, I can't believe you just came out and said that. I'm like, I thought that was pretty honorable for him to do it. I mean, it was a shitty situation where he was doing something dishonorable, but he at least tried to put an honorable end to it by coming out and saying something. There is the possibility that he did something in the past. If there was an inkling to do it once, it could have happened before. You can't deny that. But without proof and without whatever, I'm willing to take him on his statement that he owned up to his problem. He did some shitty some shitty things by taking this. But then he owned up to it. And so who am I to hold that over his head for the rest of his life? Because he has to go in and he has to test again. It's not like we just have to take him on face value that he's a clean athlete. We will actually see that he's a clean athlete, when he goes into these fights. So if he's coming in clean, then, good on him. He's doing what he needs to do. I was a fan of him before because I just liked his personality. I liked that whole team. I respected what he was able to do. I mean, he came in and killed the killer, Henan Brown, when nobody else wanted to fight him, and he was like this monster.
That's right. Henan Barrow is a monster.
He's a monster. There will always be some people that are angry at him and will say, well, we don't know for sure if he wasn't using at that time. We don't know what's going on. But hey, I know the testing has evolved over the years, so maybe, things had happened or things would have been found then that maybe are found now in current tests. So who knows when it comes to that? But that's who am I to speculate? And I mean, that's in the past. I would rather not have an asterisk on anything outside of the test that he failed. I personally don't want to put it on his whole career, because just like when John Jones would say, it wasn't testosterone that threw that kick to the face. It wasn't the EPO that was able for him to do the things he did to Henan Brown, and then to win these things and do half these things that he did. So I don't want to take that away. I'm willing to give him, not a clean slate, because he admitted he did something wrong. He will have that on his career forever. That will be in his legacy forever. But I'm also not going to hold it against him and assume and feel that I think he's doing something shady going into every fight. He doesn't deserve that. He came out. He was judged guilty in a court of public law. He's always going to have that, and you saw that in the Twitter, or I'm sorry, the YouTube chat. People are going to be hating on him about that sort of thing forever. But one thing I will say on the flip side is, until you reminded me of the shitty little Thai sex pills and all the other stuff, people will forget. People will forget about these discrepancies and these mistakes that these fighters make, or anybody makes. People will make mistakes and people will have failures. But until somebody brings it back up into your face and reminds you, oh yeah, but remember this mistake, people will forget it. So I think in the court of public law, eventually people will be easier on TJ, but you just need to have more fights refresh the memory, get more of these clean tests,
Right.
and good things happen, and people will eventually will at least won't be throwing it in his face every time. He's always going to have it, and I thought it was great for him to not shy away from it, not ask us to stop asking the questions,
Right.
not ask us to say, guys, can we please move on? Can we just think about this? He addressed it, and he was open, and he was as honest and open as anybody that you could ever imagine or want to be in that point. So for me, I respected how he was carrying himself at the media day. So yeah, I mean, I assume he's gonna, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see what it's gonna be, because he's been gone for a long time, and he's jumping right back into the deep end again.
Yes.
Easily the number one contending guy, the guy that I think most of us on staff are picking to win this fight. So it's a tough test, but I don't hold anything against him from the past, because, like you said, I've done plenty of shitty stuff in my past that I would hate to get thrown in my face every time that I made a public appearance. But just for him, unfortunately, until he gets enough fights under his belt that people can start to see that, okay, well, while he might have at one point in time been a dirty athlete, he's a clean athlete now, and I appreciate his motives, and I appreciate his willingness now and his focus on family and trying to provide for that family. So, who am I to tell a fighter or a man that he can't provide for his family?
Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of key things there, and the ones that really resonated to me, and what I think the great summary of it is, you're right. I'm not going to assume that he was dirty in any of those other fights. He says he wasn't. The tests don't show that it was, so I'm not going to assume, and I don't think anybody should just assume that he was dirty in the other fights. However, I will also say that he can't get mad at anybody that speculates that it was a possibility. You got caught as a cheater, and you're right. I don't think there should be like a formal asterisk next to any of his accomplishments, but I think it's okay for people to say, you know what, I'm not 100% sure about that. Now, as you said, he's being tested, and he's being tested more frequently than he was before, and that's going to continue. You got to think USADA is going to continue to make him one of the highest tested athletes in the organization, and if he's able to produce clean test after clean test after clean test, and still perform at that exact same level as he says, I'm not going to slip. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be even better. I'm going to dominate. If he can do that, then I think that little cloud of thought of, oh, well, maybe he was using all along, I think it starts to kind of dissipate a little bit and it goes away. But until it's done, as you said, until he gets fights under his belt and still he accomplishes these things, I think it's okay for people to say, I'm not sold just yet. You can't assume he was dirty, but you also don't have to 100% believe him that he was clean. I think you got to see the results, and we'll go forward from here. But again, I feel like, as you said, all those other athletes in this time, I feel like people have. You're right. I guess time does kind of heal all wounds, right? And you end up forgetting about it. But it's so weird because I feel like people are going so hard on TJ Dillashaw when he did exactly what I want. I would prefer that nobody cheats, period. But if people do cheat and they get caught, I would prefer them to handle it the way he did, which is not tell me some goofy story, which is just come out and say the truth. And I feel like TJ's been hammered as hard as probably anybody, but I also think maybe that's just because some people just don't like TJ Dillashaw. You got the Conor McGregor effect, as he said,
that I think if it wasn't for Conor going out and really laying into it and calling the snake in the grass and all that other kind of stuff, he immediately painted him at one point as just being this super shady individual. And I think a lot of people, especially the Conor McGregor army out there, never gave up on that,
Right.
and that was a huge megaphone against this cat, so I wonder if that never happened, if the level of the sort of disgust would be as big if you didn't have the biggest star in MMA jump in on this guy at some point in his career. So it's tough. I mean, that's a big one to go against.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. I really do. So, all right. So here's the question. All right, you're right, and you said I think the majority. I haven't seen our official staff picks yet, but I saw them rolling in, and I saw a lot of Corey Sandhagen picks on there. I picked Corey Sandhagen as well, and I'll be honest. It's not that I don't think TJ Dillashaw can win this fight. To me, I think this is almost a coin flip type fight if both guys are at 100%. I'm excited for it, but I lean towards Corey Sandhagen because the questions are around TJ Dillashaw, right? I mean, is he going to perform at that level? First of all, there's just, I mean, you have to say it. Did the EPO make some kind of difference in his performance? Especially when you think what EPO does in terms of giving you better cardio, and you think about how his style was so based around movement and pace and cardio and all those things. So you wonder, will he be the same? And then you just bring it back to the simple mechanics of he hasn't fought in 2.5 years. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, Corey Sandhagen's on a roll. What's that going to be? It's the typical, cage rust, ring rust type discussion. So to me, all the questions are around TJ Dillashaw, and that's why I picked Corey Sandhagen, but I sure as heck ain't ruling TJ Dillashaw out of this fight. So then the question becomes, if TJ does win this fight, which I believe he's capable of, does he deserve to fight for a title? And I think a lot of people are saying, no, he doesn't deserve to fight for a title. But I'm going to be honest with you. This goes back to the second chances thing. And I think, he served his time. He paid his due. He was stripped of a title. He's lost income during this time away. His reputation has been, damaged, tarnished, however you want to say about it. There's no question about that. He said that, had he stayed, he might be nearing retirement at this point. Had he been around to win a couple more fights. Now that's not the case. Hard. Right?
Yeah, he could pretty hard. When he said that, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I was like, he's so right. If he didn't lose this time, he could have easily had, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 8 fights. I don't know. I mean, I could totally see it. When he said that, I was like, oh my God, I never thought about that. This
pretty
cat
wild.
Could have been retiring soon.
That's pretty wild to think about. So now he's got to kind of pick that up again. So, I mean, he's lost. So to me, I guess is what I'm saying is he has paid a price, and he's paid a pretty significant price. And, you don't get to serve your time and then get something else that you know. So to me, there should be no concept of, well, if he beats Corey Sandhagen, it's only one fight back. He's got to show us more. I believe if TJ Dillashaw wins this fight, he does deserve to fight the winner of Sterling and Yan for the belt. Am I wrong there? I mean, does he need to pay more of a price, or does he deserve the title shot if he wins?
I'm kind of torn both ways. One side of me definitely would like to see him get another fight or so, just for the fact of, Corey and these other cats have been grinding nonstop. I mean, who knows what Corey, if Corey had multiple drops or whatever, multiple losses or whatever, he wouldn't be in this position to kind of be the number one guy. But he's done the fights. He's won against the top guys to get to this position. While TJ did sort of leave on the top, a lot of time has changed. So, part of me is like, I want to see him fight again. I want to see him earn that position. That being said, if he goes in there and starches Corey, who is a much bigger guy, I think he's given up like 5 inches in height, and has an explosive showing, it would be hard to not say this is the guy that needs to be in there. I think the UFC would say that just because of the fact if he comes out there and puts on a super explosive performance, you don't want to waste that momentum. You don't want to waste that hype that he just built up by knocking out the number one guy. And they've done that before where it feels like they've skipped over a guy that came back just to kind of give, just like even if Conor would have beat Dustin, we all know Conor would have got the next title shot.
Absolutely. No question about it.
Did he deserve it? And did he, and it's like, no, not really. Obviously, TJ is not Conor, but in the terms of TJ left, he was on top of the game. I mean, granted, there was that huge black mark that made him have to lose the top of the game. But still, a couple years away, my gut initially wanted to default that I would like to see him fight again. But if you're beating Corey, who the heck do you put after that?
Exactly.
That would be any higher to take you to the title, and it doesn't exist. So in terms of there just being lack of competition, even probably a decent win should probably get him that shot. If he goes in and has just an incredible knockout in the first couple of rounds where people are just like, wow, that was just crazy and there was drama, it'd be hard to deny it. But as I talk it out to myself right now, even if he beats Corey, who the heck do you put after that would be any better to show he deserves the shot? And there just isn't any.
There is.
Else.
I mean, listen. There's name. You could always, you could say, well, what you could throw in a Frankie Edgar, or you could say, a Rob Font, or you could say, I mean, there are names. But you're right. I mean, Corey Sandhagen is the clear number one contender in the division right
Clear
now.
number
So
one.
there are names. I mean, that division is talent rich. So there are names you could put in there, but they're not above Corey Sandhagen. So what's the point at that point? That to me just feels like an added punishment. Like what? I beat the number one contender.
You were gonna say that. Yeah, I thought you were going to say that. It does a little bit, but I wonder if we're just being weird about it and saying like, oh, by giving them a chance to make more money or whatever is a punishment. But it does feel that way where it's almost like we're not quite happy with you yet. We know you did the time, you did the crime, but do more fights now, and then we'll decide if we like you enough to give you the shot. You're right. It does kind of feel like a weird sort of second punishment. So I can get in the corner of if he beats Corey, he probably deserves it just for the sheer fact of anybody else. No offense to the guys at the top, it would be a weird step back in competition. And then what do you do after that? You know, how do you take him after beating the number one guy, take it somebody behind in ranking, and then you got to find somebody else, or then you then give the title? It feels better that the title shot coming after beating a guy like Corey Sandhagen as opposed to, say, beating the number 5 or number 6 guy. That just feels weirder to kind of sell.
And even if you take the controversy out of it too, I always do kind of hate the fact when you have a fight and you say, well, it's a number one contender fight for that guy, but it's not a number one contender fight for the other guy. It's like, well, why not? If that guy was good enough to fight for the title, why am I not good enough to fight for the title? So we'll see. Look, it's an intriguing main event. It's as good as it gets in terms of high quality. Martial arts is as good as it gets, but the drama, this story around it over what happened before and what could happen next, man, it makes this an incredibly intriguing main event. So I am super pumped up for it, even if I will have to wear a mask while I'm watching it from cage side inside the UFC Apex. All right, listen, we'll talk about the rest of the card, but first, it's Cold Coffee's favorite new segment. We don't really do segments so much, but hey, we're trying to change it. I mean, after 6.3156724 years, maybe we need to tighten it up a little bit. I don't know.
Maybe at year 7.3458334.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Then we'll tighten it up a little bit. But do you want to roll out the theme music for it? Is it all packaged and ready to go?
It's still a work in progress for roadmap.
I thought that was it. That sounded like it was highly produced.
Again, that sounds like how it was last time because that's as far as I've gotten on that one.
Oh, it's the MMA Junkie Roadshow Roadmap. It's where we turn to you, the listeners and the supporters of MMA Junkie Roadshow, to help guide us on our journey here. Of course, if you like what you listen, we do appreciate everybody that takes a moment to rate us and review us wherever you're listening to us. I always listen on Apple iTunes. If you leave us a review over there, I always read all those, and we appreciate the feedback, positive or negative, although we really appreciate the positive a lot more. Our fragile egos don't like the negative ones quite so much, so we'd appreciate as much
positive. Drink even more.
It causes us to drink even more. So positive feedback only, please. But if you really, really enjoy what you listen to and you want to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. Sign up to support us there for as little as $3 a month. You can help us keep this thing going, help keep the lights on. Even when they're flickering in the studio, they are at least still on as they are.
Help me afford a better light bulb.
The light is flickering in Studio B, but we appreciate it. Patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. And of course, that does give you exclusive access to the and a half episodes after every single UFC event, which is basically after every single weekend these days, because face it, that's how the UFC schedule goes. But we'll bring you a wrap up and that sort of thing. Crazy. But we also turn to you for the roadmap and ask you to give us some questions and let us know what you want to hear about. So without further delay, Cold Coffee, would you like to share us a question from the roadmap?
Yeah, let's start with Zachary's from the top. How to handle showing my boys MMA. 5 years and 2 years. They've seen some and we roughhouse a bit, but when talking with friends, they ask, how do I show them that when telling them to be nice and no fighting, school, daycare, you use manners? I'm curious on yours and John's thoughts. Hopefully I can eventually get them in some classes and it'll make more sense.
Well, Cold Coffee, I'll let you chime in if you like, but I have got some real world experience in this, so yes, I'll share what I have. Obviously, my son Eli is 9 now. Man, he started training. I want to say he was about 4 or 5 when he started training, and we've done some training at Extreme Couture. We've done some training at Syndicate MMA. He's currently training at Robert Drysdale's. So he's been a part of this, and obviously, he knows what I do for a living. He sees it. The shows that I commentate for CFFC, they watch those on Fight Pass. He comes and sees fights, so he's exposed to mixed martial arts. I will say. And Zachary, I don't know if your kids are maybe a little bit more focused than mine. He will not sit down and watch a whole event. That's for damn sure. His attention span does not stay there. But he's definitely familiar with MMA, and he does train in mixed martial art, in different mixed martial arts skills, including some striking, but obviously a lot of jiu-jitsu and wrestling, that sort of thing. I think the biggest thing from day one is just to clarify how important it is that you cannot ever do this on the schoolyard or in the cafeteria or wherever. And I and my wife tried to make that painfully clear from day one, because you know what? I was a little worried that what if my kid gets into a scrap at school, which happens. It happens all the time, right? But then you go to the principal's office, it's like, oh, you're the kid of that guy that does the MMA reporting. Of course you're violent and fighting and that sort of thing, And from day one, I always made it clear, as far as what you see on TV, as far as being a fan and watching this, the reason that they get to do this is because they get paid for it, and they're professional athletes that are allowed to do this. I said, if you are not getting paid for it, you do not get to do it. Now, as far as self-defense and that sort of thing, I'll just as a parent, I'll admit it, I've told my kid that if somebody swings at him, he is allowed to do whatever it takes to defend himself and answer back. And I don't want him to be bullied. I don't want anybody to push him and not answer back. So he knows that he can respond with the necessary actions. However, he also knows that if he's the one that instigates the issue, if he's the one that takes the first swing, or he's the one that's being a bully, that there will be hell to pay. And I assure you that his mother would probably be even harder on him than I would. But he knows, look, you can be kicked out of school for this. You can be expelled. I mean, there are very serious consequences. So I think it's so important just to be clear from day one that, like, look, what you're seeing here on TV is something between trained athletes, professionals who are licensed, who are sanctioned. They are in a cage. The fact that they're in a cage allows them to do this. This is not allowed to be done outside. This is not something else you can do. So I think as long as you make that very clear distinction and make it be known, make it understood what the consequences are going to be if they try to partake in these activities, on the schoolyard. So far, we've been fortunate, man. We haven't had any incident, and my kids, despite training in martial arts, from a young age, he's never really gotten in a fight or bullied anybody or anything like that. So that's my personal experience. I mean, just being painfully clear about it, I guess. I know that maybe that's not the most complicated advice ever, but it's worked for us.
And I think you're right. And I think that's one thing is, not having kids myself, but, I got the nieces and nephews and stuff. But, one thing I have understood is that kids are future adults. You can talk to them like they understand you. You don't have to kid things down, I think, even at these early ages of 2 and 5. If you explain what's happening, what's right and wrong, when it's okay to, defend yourself, when it's okay to do these things, and when it's not. And I don't think you have to really dumb it down. I think we don't give enough kids enough credit when you treat them like a little person and you actually speak to them like a little person. I think they're willing to understand it. So if you have a good relationship with your kids, and I think you explain to them, this is what I would do if I was in your situation, and this is when I would try to defend myself, and then this is when I would like to walk away. This is when I don't need to do something. And you explain when you're watching MMA that these are trained athletes that chose to do a sport where they want to challenge themselves. And I think it does help when you if the kids are interested in martial arts. I think you learn a lot of discipline, and you learn a lot of respect, and you learn a lot of knowing that you are being trained in something, but you know when to not use it by being further aware of their bodies, and teaching them when is the right time to do these sort of things and when is not. I think they'll get it. So I think if you want to watch it and they understand that you like it, they're going to want to watch it because they just want to spend time with you ultimately. And if you're talking to them and explaining this is what's happening here. This is a good move. This is good, but this is what you would try to do if somebody's attacking you. This isn't the kind of thing that you just play around with somebody that doesn't want to do it, that isn't, into the same sort of thing. And I think they'll understand, and I think that they'll get it. I think too often in life we don't give kids the proper understanding that they can understand that what we're doing. I think we think that we need to dumb it down too much for them. I think they just, if you explain to them what's happening, when the right and wrong is, I think that they'll get it. And this made me think of something that I remember reading a tweet once, or maybe it was a comment on a chat. You had put something out once, and I remember I wanted to address it, and I completely forgot about it because it was crazy. Somebody once, you put a post out about Eli doing jujitsu or something, and I remember somebody was like, John, don't try to make your kid do the sport that you cover just to make yourself happy or something. And I was so perplexed by it, and I wanted to like lash out this dude, and like, because they don't realize this isn't you pushing Eli. This is Eli. Eli does like 50,000 hobbies and activities. Yep. And his jujitsu and all the martial arts and things that he does is Eli's choice. So I thought that was just so like just out of left field that this person thought that you were trying to push Eli into it. And that's almost, I guess it kind of ties to this question too with, Zachary, then like, just because your kids want to get involved, they want to get involved because you like it.
Yep.
Same thing with John. They sees you, that's your life. And eventually he was drawn to it. And he has the understanding because you were always honest and open about it. And you said, this is what we do. This is the right time to, when you would use these sort of things. And he enjoys the sport and he enjoys watching it. And I think it's the same thing for these kids. I think at any age that they're able to have a decent conversation with you and that they're understanding what you're doing, I think you could watch it because you just got to explain it. You just have to use it in words that they understand. Don't just say, oh, Dad likes this because people get their asses whipped. That's not going to work. But if you explain the beautiful side of martial arts and the sport side as well, where it's just individuals trying to challenge themselves, it's like watching a basketball game. It's just a different sport. I think the kids will get it.
I gotta say, Cold Coffee, as a non-parent, that was pretty solid advice there, man. You I think you get it, because I agree. Just talk to your kids. You don't have to dumb it down for them. Talk to your kids. Listen, come for the MMA talk. Stay for the life advice for your children. It's the Parenting Roadshow with John Morgan and Cold Coffee.
There's a reason why my nieces, I love my nieces. I love my nephews or whatever, but my nieces, they think I'm like the cool uncle. They love that I cover MMA and that the other stuff, but they're older and stuff. But it's honestly, it's because I've never treated them like my kids. Obviously, I treat them like my brother's kids, or my sister or whatever. But it's just about talking to them, and they respect you for that. And as they get older, they will always maintain that sort of level of respect that you give them. So if you respect your kids and they're understanding, they're going to respect you.
Look at that. Cold coffee.
And there was that point where I remember when I was a kid, my dad and others said, well, if you act a fool, if you do something I tell you not to, I'm going to whip your ass. That's a whole other flip side. But I left that out of this. That out of this discussion. So tell your kids to do right, or you're going to kick their ass. No, don't.
Well, Zachary, hopefully that helped you out, Zach, and anybody else that's in that situation, because I do think it's one that I think we all wonder. I mean, like I said, you want to show your kids the sport you love, but you do wonder because you can't be doing that out on the schoolyard. All right, let's get to question number 2, Cold Coffee.
Well, I was going to see if you wanted to pick one up, but I'll go ahead and jump to another one that Joe, who loves busting our chops when we forget things. So we'll jump down to Joe Lucente, and then we'll go up
Joe
to
from H-Town. Oh, Joe Lucente. Okay. I saw 2 Joes there.
Well, that's right. Well, Joe, I just figured instead of just going straight down the line, I'll just skip around or whatever. So Joe said, hello, gentlemen, and I say that loosely. True. I'm curious to hear both of your opinions. Do you think that Miesha Tate decided to make a comeback so she can try to change her legacy and get out from under Ronda's shadow? Let me explain. If she beats a few top contenders and then actually beats Nunes, she'll become the second woman to win back the title after losing it, and of course, she would have beaten Nunes, and she would have done all that after a 5-year layoff. So at that point, she could claim that her fighting career in the long run was better than Ronda's. Now, obviously, this is pure speculation.
Boy, that's interesting. All right, Joe Lucente, as you said, he likes to bust her balls every now and then, but that's a solid one. Okay, I hadn't really thought about that much, but you know what? It really could potentially do that, right? I mean, especially when you think about the way that Ronda's career ended. You know what I mean? But I kind of almost feel like Misha's there already, as weird as that may sound. I think that, and maybe this is just my own personal point of view, and I'm not downing Ronda Rousey. I was a Ronda Rousey fan throughout her entire career. I didn't love the way it ended in terms of how she handled things outside of the cage. And I do think that the court of public opinion really changed on her very much. And I won't say that she damaged her legacy, because I see a lot of people now trying to go back and rewriting history and saying, well, Ronda was never really that good. And Ronda was incredibly impactful in the history of mixed martial arts, the history of UFC. And if you talk to women on the roster to this day, they will tell you how much gratitude they have for what Ronda Rousey did, because she really did create the opportunities. Now, maybe it would have eventually happened, somewhere down the road, but Ronda really is the one that got the ball started with women in the UFC, and she kind of set the tone for it being accepted. I mean, she was as big a star as there was in the sport at the time. Now, of course, she dominated the rivalry with Miesha Tate, and when you dominate, I guess as Daniel Cormier said, is it really a rivalry, right? If you lose. So I think that Ronda's shadow was there, but when I think of what Miesha has gone on to mean to the sport in terms of an ambassador, in terms of an analyst, she went and got the role with one championship. She huge there. She continues to do things. She comes back. I honestly feel like she's not under that shadow anymore. So I don't think so. And, of course, we know Miesha pretty well, a Las Vegas resident. She is back in town. We've always talked to her. I see her at Extreme Couture. Not as much anymore. That kid doesn't train there. But just, knowing her throughout the years, I don't think she feels like she's under that shadow of Ronda Rousey. I really don't. But in terms of, what coming back and winning would mean, yeah, I mean, it would be big. I mean, it would be a point where you could say, like, okay, yes, Ronda dominated that particular point of my legacy. However, my legacy then extended far beyond, and I came back and beat the great Amanda Nunes. I don't know that she'll beat the great Amanda Nunes, and I mean that is no disrespect. I don't pick anybody against Amanda Nunes right now. So I think that what you're saying, Joe, is true. It would accomplish that, but to be honest with you, I feel like she's already not even under that shadow anymore. And I don't think it was her motivation. Knowing Miesha, I don't think that factors into her thinking at all. She's got her family now. That means the world to her. She's still a competitor. She's got this drive within. Obviously, the financial ramifications of a fighting career aren't a bad thing either in terms of supporting your family moving forward. So I think there was a lot of motivation. I think what you're saying would be true, but I don't think it's why she came back to fight.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement with that. I mean, I think in her mind, the Ronda fights doesn't affect her. I think if it'd be one thing if she never came back to fighting, but it'd also be another thing if she never had her career kind of go in some sort of direction. For her to be able to go away, pick up the like you said, the analyst work to get that cool job with one where she was representing that organization in a high level role, as well as being a female. I don't know if you call it executive or whatever, but just being a female in a top position was wonderful for her right there as well. To come back, look better than she's probably ever looked. You could tell her determination is there. Her desire to want to perform. I thought she performed great. I think in her mind, it wasn't Ronda that made her want to keep going and move on. I definitely think it was the family and other stuff. If she's able to kind of go in there and, and like you said, beat Amanda, which is a tough task, I don't think anybody even needs to worry about those Ronda losses. I think in the overall scale of the most dominant female fighters ever, Amanda is up there. And what Ronda did was amazing for the period that she did it. She clearly dominated people, but she dominated women for that window until women caught up to what she was doing.
Yes.
Now that's not going to happen. And we saw that happen. We saw fighters that went in there that were able to defend the armbar, to defend the judo, and just pummeled Ronda. And Ronda eventually left on her own terms. She left still high in the sport, but if she could kind of beat Amanda, I mean, that would be a much bigger thing in my book as for overall legacy coming back to the sport after 5 years. And if you're able to beat the one that is pretty much most people consider the GOAT of women's martial arts, who cares about the past? Who cares about the couple armbar losses that you have? Her heart and determination that she showed in those fights, she let her arm get twisted off.
Yes.
And that was still, I could still envision, I think everybody that's ever seen that fight is just like, holy cow, you can't unsee the way her arm was bending. It just shows her heart and her determination. And, while I could see some people can say, she'll always live under Ronda's shadow, there is truth in the fact that she can't get those losses back. Ronda's not fighting anymore. But if she's able to come back, and even if she doesn't get a good win from Amanda, and she puts on a great series of fights at this point, it's a wonderful part to her own legacy of her own determination, her own drive to provide for herself and her family, and kudos to her. So, tough task to try to add the Amanda Nunes part on there, but I'm with you in the sense that I feel like her just coming back after such a long time away and getting wins, she's already out from underneath that shadow of those losses for sure, I think.
I agree. All right. Thank you, Joe Lacente. We appreciate that. All right. We'll get back. We got a few more questions in the hopper. We'll get back to that in a second. I do want to continue talking about UFC on ESPN 27. By the way, I did want to share one more thing about TJ Dillashaw that got brought to my attention this week that made me giggle a little bit. That is, if you Google TJ Dillashaw, and it'll bring up a little thing. Google has added a little, I don't know, what do you call that? A little section or whatever. I can't think of the word right now, but it brings up a little thing right there. A widget is what I was thinking of. Kind of a little widget there. It brings it up. And the nickname there is Lieutenant Dan, which I absolutely love. And it was funny because there were some people, and I'd kind of forgotten about this. There's a whole generation of people that have no idea about the Lieutenant Dan nickname. But it was funny. I was telling the story actually to Nolan King on our staff. He hadn't even heard the nickname before, and I was telling him about the situation, and I found a piece online that I had written that I totally had forgotten about. That I wanted TJ Dillashaw to adopt that nickname so much, Lieutenant Dan. So for anybody that doesn't know, Lieutenant Dan, if you remember the movie Forrest Gump, Lieutenant Dan was a character in there, and of course he had the amputated legs. And there's a scene in there where he's out on the ocean on a boat, and it starts like storming and raining, and like he's literally, yelling at God, right? He's pissed off, and he's like, "Come on, give me what you got, bring it on." And the joke was that when TJ Dillashaw came into sparring at Team Alpha Male his first day, that's how he sparred. That he was just like, "Let's go, my." So they started calling him Lieutenant Dan, and that was like his very unofficial nickname at Team Alpha Male. And I thought it was hilarious. I think at the time, like, people were like, just trying to give him nicknames. I think at one time there was a nickname called the Viper on his Wikipedia page, but he said, like, nobody's ever actually called me that. I think somebody just added it to his Wikipedia page, which was funny as well. Another funny story. But I actually wrote a story in USA Today, and I didn't remember writing it until seeing it this week. But I remember at the time thinking, if I put this in USA Today, if this goes in a newspaper and a major online, news distribution outlet, like, hopefully it'll stick. Maybe he'll be forced to use it. And of course he wasn't forced to use it, but if you Google his name, it comes up as his nickname. So I don't know how that happens. I don't know if I have an MMA junkie listener to thank for it, but I think it's amazing that Lieutenant Dan's there. And if you didn't know the story of the nickname, that's what it is. All right, so we've talked about that main event, how great it is. Co-main event, Aspen Ladd versus Macy Chassan. A big fight here. Macy is kind of breaking into the top 10. She's a former featherweight. She's got size. She's got power. But Aspen Ladd, somebody that we thought was, destined for a title shot until she had, major knee reconstruction. She's been out. She took her time to come back. She says, look, I'm still that same person I was before, and I intend to prove it here. I think Aspen Ladd is the rightful favorite here, but you talk about question marks. She hasn't been in there a while. It's been 19 months since she's competed. She's returning from knee surgery. Macy Chassan will tower over her when they stand next to each other. Macy is the underdog here, but I think she's a live underdog. I took Aspen Ladd in this, but I think this is a very intriguing co-main event that people might be sleeping on. It's a big one. Holly Paiva is moving up to 135 pounds to face Kyler Phillips. Holly Paiva, of course, was not able to make the flyweight limit just a couple months ago and had to withdraw from the fight. He's moving up to 35. He said this is where he'll be moving forward. Right away, he's getting a ranked opponent in Kyler Phillips. I like Kyler Phillips a lot. The Matrix, he's got style. He's got swagger. He's a fun fighter. He came in wearing a green suit the other day that we turned out his mom made because she's a fashion designer, which is awesome. So he was sporting all the stuff from her. So he's a very fun fighter to watch there. So that's going to be a potentially fun fight. Darren Elkins versus Derrick Minner. I mean, two veterans of the sport. We know about Darren Elkins, his reputation, his toughness, and Derrick Minner, of course, a submission machine as well, a finisher. Two guys that have been around the game for a long time. That should be a fun fight. Let me just say, Randy Costa versus Adrian Yanez got promoted to the main card. That's going to kick off the main card. That's an awesome fight that we were bummed was kind of on the prelims. It got bumped up to the main card, rightfully so. That's going to be an absolute scrap. That's got Fight of the Night written all over it. And then this women's fight, Macy Barber versus Miranda Maverick. Intriguing fight here as well. Macy Barber has lost 2 in a row at this point. Of course, her goal to be the youngest UFC champion has kind of been dashed. And now, she's got to prove, that she is what she says she was and what everybody said she was. The future. Everybody thought this was the one. She had the loss to Roxanne Modafferi, and she kind of wrote it off and said, well, I had this knee injury, and that's what caused it. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because she's like, no, you just got beat, and you also had a knee injury. But she came back from that. And now and then she lost to unanimous decision to Alexa Grasso as well. So 2 losses in a row for Macy Barber. And, I don't know how much you can call it a crossroads fight at 23 years old. I mean, this woman could have another 10 or 15 years of fighting, but this is a big moment in terms of where she stands in the sport. But she's coming up against somebody in Miranda Maverick who equally young, just 24 years old, and just turned 24, by the way, has looked very, very impressive in her 2 fights thus far. Is 2-0 in the UFC and looks like the real deal to me. And things I like to do with the roadshow is maybe shine a light on some fighters that don't have a ton of it. And I think you will listen to this interview, and I don't know how you can walk away from this interview and not be a fan of this woman at 24 years old. The way she carries herself, the way she speaks, you add it to the way she fights. And I think there's big things on the horizon for Miranda Maverick. So here she is.
Well, we're ready to talk about it. I mean, the UFC run has been pretty impressive so far, and here you're in kind of a high-profile fight already. You're unbeaten in the UFC. I mean, what's the feel like around you and your career right now?
This is just happy. I'm happy coming into this fight. I've had a lot of time to prepare for this one specifically. It's been a high ride so far, and I plan on keeping the roller coaster going uphill. So really excited about this fight and the future in this sport to begin with within the UFC.
Everybody's trying to get to the UFC, right? And then once you get there, you kind of change your goals. I mean, this has gone very well for you. Like, did you envision things being, this good, I guess, as you got in?
That's the envision you want to think of. I never really envisioned, I'll hit a bump here and do that. I always think just to the sky, And so far, it's been that way. I've been envisioning getting to the UFC since I started the sport at 18 years old. So finally here, and now the goals just changed. First it was get ranked. That happened pretty quick. I couldn't have asked for that to be any better. And now it's get ranked in the top 5, then be the main contender, then fight for the title. That's where it goes from here. So it's been a fun ride, and I'm excited about the journey as well. But at the end of the day, it's all a means to an end for me. I have other things that I'm doing outside of the sport, and that allows me a big advantage, I think, in the fights. I'm able to kind of risk everything and just go into a fight not afraid to lose.
Nice. This matchup, I think everybody's pretty excited about it. What did you think when this was the one that was presented? Because, 2 prospects, top level. I mean, it's an intriguing one. What did you think when this was the matchup, man?
I think I've said it multiple times. I even said it when they were talking about what fights are going to be coming down the pike for me and asking me to predict who I was going to fight next. And I said I wouldn't doubt if they say Macy, but I don't want it. That was the only fight I didn't want because I think we're both very young prospects. I think we both have a big future in the sport. She's already on a 2-fight losing streak. She's going to be on a 3-fight losing streak, and now you've knocked somebody who could have been a very good prospect out of a division that's very stagnant and has a bunch of older women. I think they should get some of the older women to fight some of these young prospects coming up instead of knocking us out against each other. I just think it's bad matchmaking from that perspective, good matchmaking from the perspective of our own styles, you know? It's absolutely an amazing fight. It's the fan favorite fight. I knew that the first time I met her. You know, the cameraman was like, go back in the elevator, you know, and come back out. Let me videotape you meeting Macy Barber. And I was like, all right, we already know what's going on here, right? But it's really good stylistically. I just wish we would have been number 4 ranked, number 5 ranked kind of thing instead of number 14, 15, 13, 15, whatever we keep bouncing back to week after week.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the questions around her are around the losing streak, right? I mean,
Yeah.
she was the hype thing, and people are wondering, hey, is she really still what we thought she was? But you seem pretty respectful of her. So, I mean, do you
Very.
feel like she is all that we thought she was?
She is the future. People want to, even she loses this fight, she's still the future. Think about how many older women are going to be retiring in the next 5 years from MMA that are in the flyweight division right now. Most of them, right? Most of them. And that leaves, 5 of us probably left. She's going to be just calculatively in the top 5, top 10 in the world. And to discount her for a couple losses against some of the good girls in this world is kind of taking away your own fandom, your own knowledge of the sport. It looks bad on you, not her.
Can you talk about your prep for this fight? Because that was interesting, right? You spent some time here. You brought in Jillian Robertson, right?
Yeah.
A former opponent that you brought in. So what was kind of your approach to this one?
This one was just work hard, learn some new things, but also work on my nutrition. That was the main focus for this fight. And I did bring in old opponents. I brought in Deanna Bennett, who I fought twice in the past in Invicta. I brought in Jillian Robertson, who I just got done fighting. But I think you can learn something from every opponent. And those are 2 of the opponents that I struggled with in certain areas. You know, Deanna Bennett has heavy pressure, heavy wall work. I don't have as many people my size to work with for that. Brought her in, got a lot of good work with her. Then Jillian comes down. She obviously, in the second round of my fight with her, was able to control me on the ground more than I would like. And I'm not used to having a girl do that to me. Brought her down. She got to beat me up some more on the ground so that I could learn from that. I'm big about being humble and being able to learn new things from people. Not like, oh, I can beat her or I already beat her, so there's nothing I can learn from her. Absolutely not. You can learn something from everybody. And then to come down and get to enjoy the opportunity of the PI and get to train with some of the strength and conditioning coaches here, get to train with Aspen Ladd, Andrea Lee. That was an amazing opportunity as well. I mainly train with guys, and the girls that I do have are more Muay Thai fighters, so I don't really ever get to grapple with somebody my own size or get in that training with someone my own size. So I think that just gives me such a huge advantage in this fight, and I try to go into every fight with as many advantages as I can, legally, of course.
Nice. So you saw this matchup coming together. I'm curious. I mean, what are your expectations here with a victory? I mean, you're on this, rocket ride to the top. Like, what do you think comes next? Is it one of the older women in the division?
I would hope so. I hope they give me somebody that's top 5 ranked or so. Work my way up to the title pretty quickly. I said 2 years ago, about a year ago. So we're getting pretty close to when I want that title shot to happen. I'd love to be a contender within the next 2 fights. They get mad at people for being new to the UFC or just being prospects calling out the title, but what else do they want us here for? Isn't the whole point to go be the best we can be, not to be like, I'm happy with number 10. I think I'll just stay here for the rest of my life. No, we're trying to all get to the title, and whether it's a dominant champion or not, that's who I train for. I don't train for anyone below that, and I'm trying to train to be the best I can be. I'm not even to my peak yet, and I plan on working my way to it very quickly.
That's awesome. Last thing for me, I guess, what is the goal here? I mean, obviously victory, but I mean, do you feel like, hey, I need to go out there and have some kind of dominant statement type thing so I do get these top opportunities right away, or is it just, let's just put another win in the bank and keep going down the trail?
I guess both, a mix of both. I go in there to just fight to the best of my ability. If a finish happens within that and I see it, great. That's, of course, always what I'm going for. I'm big about trying to finish fights. Last time I was a little bit hesitant in certain spots where I think I could have finished the fight a couple times, and I don't plan on making any of those mistakes this time. But it's a fight. None of us know what's going to happen in there, just the same way of people, what's your game plan? I don't know. Watch the fight. That's what you pay for. But I'm going in there just going to try to use everything that I've learned, not only in this fight camp, but the fight camps leading up to it, and trying to make a dominant performance regardless of whether we get a finish or not. I expect this to be a very exciting fight.
All right, Miranda Maverick, like I said, I just, just unbelievable poise and confidence, and Tough fight for Macy Barber here, man. This is a tough one for Macy to have kind of a rebound fight or a reestablishing fight, man. This is not the one to take as an easy one. So big fight for both these ladies. Cold Coffee, I love every fight on this main card, man. I really do think this is going to be a fantastic main card. And, you start getting down to the prelims. Brendan Allen versus Puna Soriano. Ian Heinisch is on there against Nasruddin Imavov. Mickey Gall is on there against Jordan Williams, who's changing weight classes. I mean, Elise Reed, the former CFFC champ, is making her debut. Obviously, I get excited for seeing CFFC fighters coming to the UFC. She's got a tough assignment. She's moving up in weight class against Sajara Eubanks, who's actually coming down a weight class. So there's going to be some size discrepancy between the two of them, but Elise Reed is as tough as it gets. I mean, it's just I really do think we're in for an absolute fantastic card. But anything out of media day or these matchups or anything that that really stood out to you? Because I thought it was a rather fun media day, to be honest. I just feel like we got a lot of personalities on this card and a lot of fun fighters and a lot of fun fights. If you can't tell, I'm jacked up about this card.
Yeah, obviously the fun little candy relationship Candy and Dr. Pepper between Randy Costa and Adrian Yanez has been fun to watch. That it's always appreciative when you can see two guys going in there that are fighting at a high level, that are keeping it fun, that are keeping it light, that don't have to hate each other going in there. So I thought that was really fun and awesome to see. Going back to Miranda, you're right. She killed that media day. I thought she crushed it, and Macy did well as well. Just in terms of just looking good when they came out there, So I'm definitely impressed to see, and looking forward to see how that fight goes. Mickey Gall, him and Jordan, I think that fight's going to be gangbusters. I mean, I actually, we pick staff picks on that one, even though it doesn't really go in our normal staff picks. We just kind of been picking everything. That was one of the ones where I went back and forth, and I wasn't quite sure which guy, like you said, Jordan going to a different weight division, and Mickey's always sort of been this guy that just kind of shows up for the ones where you think that there's maybe a possibility that he won't win, but he always shows up. I actually went with Jordan leading into this, but then listening to Mickey talk, man, he just there's no doubt in his mind. I mean, he's so focused, and just if you go back and listen to the interview on MMA Junkie, afterwards I really started questioning. Part of me when I was looking at Jordan, I just like his size, I like his power. Part of me was thinking like, man, Mickey, I feel like I haven't seen him in a while. I'm not quite sure if there's going to be some questions with him coming into this one, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to that one because I think I'm going to probably keep my pick on how it is, but that's one I'm looking for. Mickey's either going to come back and show us the guy that, after he first called his shot and got his big shot at the UFC, is he still that guy that, has the potential to kind of keep rising? And I think this is one of those fights where if he can show up and he shows that things are still going well and that he's still capable of high level performances, maybe he's still in the ranks of possibilities to someday make some sort of a run. I can see where some people might think that's clearly out of the works for him, but every time I see him talk and I see him at these media days, I always go through in my head, is this guy champ potential? I don't know. But he certainly always hypes me up. So I'm excited to see that one. Sarge, I'm always interested to see where she's at in her career. I don't know off the top of my head really how well I can remember Elise's fights, but I know Sarge likes to bring it. But I'm always into seeing how Sarge fights because she's just a fun fighter. I mean, I think for a while there, she's the one that a lot of women. Not that there's like a gatekeeper, but that she's one of the tough ones that all the prospects and those that eventually make it up to the rankings always have to go through.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see that because this is early on in the fight card. They clearly have the skills to set the night off good. So it'd be interesting to see. So I'm interested in that partially just because I want to see where Sajara's at, where she's still at in terms of, do I think she'll ever be, contending for the title? Not so much, but she's still always capable of pulling great fights out. And I'm always interested to watch her because I think she's such an exciting fighter and exciting personality. It was kind of sad we didn't get to see her on media day just because she's a lot of fun when she shows up and she's in a good mood. And then, even just the first one, I'm interested to see how Hannah Goldie's going to look.
Yep.
I think she's got a lot of question marks on her as to whether she really can be effective and does have the potential to keep rising. So we'll see. But yeah, this card's stacked, man. You're right. As we were going through and looking at the main card and even going down to the preliminary card, there's not a lot of fights that I'd say like, that there's no fights I would say that I have at least no interest in really watching. Every fight on here has some interesting points just to see. So even from right from the get go. So this is another really, really good ESPN card for sure.
Yep.
Maybe even, I don't know, say better than the last one, but in terms of overall value, top to bottom, this is probably better than the last one.
I completely agree. I think this as a whole, this might be as good of a card of a fight night as we get all year. I mean, meaningful matchups, intriguing matchups, names that we know. I think this is fantastic. And just to give you a little insight on Elise Reed, by the way, obviously I do commentary for CFFC on Fight Pass. She's a strawweight champion there. I'm not going to make any bones. This is a tough assignment for her UFC debut. I'm proud that she's in the UFC. Like I said, I love watching fighters develop. She is a kind of, grew up with a striking base, kind of a karate-based style. But, obviously at this point, like anybody, is a well-rounded fighter. She is as tough of a human being as you will ever find. Like her durability, her grit, her determination, like you honestly can't match it. But I will say this, she's a natural atomweight who was already fighting up at strawweight. And now she's going up to flyweight against Sajara Eubanks, who's coming down from bantamweight. So it scares me a little bit, but I'm telling you right now, if there's anybody who won't be scared or intimidated by it at the moment, it's Elise Reed, man. She's an absolute badass. So I'm pulling for her, obviously, as the CFFC love goes. But as you said, Sajara is always fun to be around, and we've enjoyed talking to her since her Ultimate Fighter days. So it's an intriguing one. It's a tough assignment for Elise Reed in her debut, but not. I will say if anybody can deliver, it's her. All right, cool, Coffee. So that kind of breaks down UFC on ESPN 27. I don't know where to go next though. I don't know how would I determine where I would go next.
Where should we go?
I don't know.
I have an idea. Let's pull out the roadmap again.
Oh, the roadmap! What a great idea! That is phenomenal. Let's consult the roadmap.
How about we go to the guy that loves busting your balls, and that you will get a chance to see in Houston as well. And I loved his comment the other day. He said, "Should I bring the cooler or not? Because the cooler last time got us fucked up." I would say the answer is always yes. Bring the cooler. Bring the cooler. I won't be there, but bring the cooler. So this next question is Joe from H-Town. And it's funny because, there's so much talk about, should we be humoring all these little crossover fights, these Paul fights, these Mayweather fights, blah, 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 whatever. So his question is, if you talk about Jake Paul fights, I need you to talk about pro wrestling. AEW Dynamite is every Wednesday on TNT at 8 Eastern. Best show on television. Also, why won't you interview CM Punk already? Cheers, fella. Cheers, fellas.
That's funny.
Why won't you wrestle? And we'll jump down. Muna said, Muna's another guy that's commenting, and we'll throw him back in because he had another follow-up question about Misha that I probably could have thrown earlier. And it's funny because he says, no one wrestling, but I do agree that you should interview CM Punk and get insight on his fight being overturned.
That's funny. All right, I am also going to go with Muna and say no on wrestling. However, I will say, yeah, great questions with CM Punk. It's funny, there's reports that he's coming back, which I don't follow wrestling very much, but obviously I've seen those reports, and it would shock me. I'm going to be honest with you. When I talk to him, he seems a little burned out by the business that happens behind the scenes at wrestling. But, who knows? You make the man a lucrative enough offer, and maybe he's coming back. But I've seen the reports. I personally would be shocked just from being around Punk, but we'll see. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility. I will say that as the whole process was going on, Nolan King was doing a lot of the reporting on the whole situation with the fight being overturned. I was in contact with Punk about it, who did not know that his fight had been overturned. So we actually broke that news to him. But once he found out it was for a marijuana test, he was basically like, yeah, I don't care. I basically reached out and I was like, do you have any comments that you want to make? We'd like to hear what you have to say. And he was like, what am I going to say, dude? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, I was like, okay, fair enough. So
I would say he's clearly moved on from his fighting career.
yeah, he has definitely moved on from his fighting career, and yeah, he didn't care too much that it had been overturned. Now, I will say this: had it been for a PED, you know, which that was, I think, his initial concern, I think that would have upset him a little bit, because when he first found out about it, you know, he raised an eyebrow a little bit and was like, "What? Like, what's going on?" I think that would have upset him a little bit. But once he found out it was for marijuana, he was just like, "Dude, who cares? Like, just go smoke
he's like,
your
"Come
weed."
on, bruh, it's weed.
Yeah. Go
Come
smoke
on,
your
nobody's
weed.
smoking to go fight."
Even the straight edge CM Punk was like, I don't care about weed. So yeah, athletic commissions. That should tell you. The guy that will not put anything in his body whatsoever says, I don't care that the man was smoking weed. As far as interviewing him, yeah, we do need to interview. It's been crazy, man. You know, him and I have definitely developed a friendship since we've been working together at CFFC. But the schedules have been weird because basically during COVID, I mean, the idea was we're on the ground as little as possible. So we were coming in like last minute. Basically, he is also a professional sleeper. CM Punk takes naps every single day. That man goes to sleep early and still takes naps every single day. So it was just always
so pretty.
That's why he looks
so pretty.
That's why it's there. So it's tough to get scheduled with him, and I can tell you that his appetite for speaking about anything wrestling in a podcast. Of course, I'm an idiot about wrestling, so I wouldn't even know what to ask him. But I bet we could get him together and talk about. I mean, he still is incredibly passionate about MMA, which I think comes across in the broadcast at CFFC. So for him to talk about his own career, I can tell you he is not going to want to at all. I could probably slip in a couple of questions or whatever, but we will. Him and I will do an interview at some point. There's no question about it, and obviously it'll be right here on the MMA Roadshow.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. I mean, he's a cool cat.
He is a cool cat. I like him. I like him. Dude, I've become good friends with him, man. I really like CM Punk a lot.
Yeah, he's fun, man. And I enjoy listening to you guys. Definitely when you guys do the CFFC shows. I mean, they're getting better and better every time, and he's come a long way with that as well. So yeah, he's a cool character. He's had an interesting life, so it'll just be good just to get touch base with him and see where his head's at, you know, and just to get him opening up about that. I bet he's got a hell of a lot of cool stories. I would be more into hearing his cool stories about wrestling than you know, really sort of cover the like AEW shows and like try to hop into the storylines. I mean, when it comes to the athleticism of today's pro wrestlers and the stuff they're doing, it's absolutely bonkers. I mean, these guys are just crazy athletes, crazy fit, and the routines that they do. You know, I remember when the first like New Japan shows that we saw, there was a wrestling match that went on for like a legit 45 minutes or like an hour, and I was like, how the hell can these guys go for this long? I mean, you can't take that away from them when in terms of their athleticism, what they're putting out there. It's cool stuff, but you know, it's just fun to watch off to the side. I mean, it's hard enough to try to just become more educated in the sport that we cover than to cover like the professional wrestling. The only other sport that we're going to get more involved with and cover is the LFC, which is if you want to talk about pro wrestling, some of the new athletes coming into the Lingerie Fighting Championship have a background in professional wrestling. They're stepping their game up so much. A lot of them, not a lot of them. Some come from Ring of Honor. Some, what's the other one? WOW, World of Wrestlers or something else. There's like legit professional wrestlers, granted on the much smaller regional scene, that are starting to make their way over. So if you want to hear some wrestling talk, that's more likely where it'll come from, is from our LFC stuff as opposed to some of the professional athletes out there. But AEW for sure is legit. Their shows are awesome. I have watched some episodes and I put it on par and maybe even like it better than some of the storylines and stuff of like the WWE or whatever the other ones, major ones now, NXT. I like the AEW better than those particular ones, and New Japan is probably the other one that I like a lot, even though I can't understand half the shit they say in it. So that's cool. But yeah, I doubt that we'll ever do full pro wrestling talk.
And there you go, Joe from H-Town. That will conclude our wrestling coverage ever on the MMA Roadshow. You got some, and that's it. Final question here is from Enrique Ortiz. He said, question I've always been curious about is fighter pay when accepting a 5-round main event. Do fighters automatically get a pay increase when accepting main event fights? Would Leon Edwards or Robbie Lawler get a pay increase for doing 5 rounds in a non-main event setting automatically? Also wondering if you had to add on fights to your contract when negotiating that. Thank you. It's a good question, Enrique. And bottom line is, yeah, most contracts do have a clause in it that if you're a main event or a title fight, you're going to get an increased pay. You're going to get a different rate than what your normal base pay is. So that's already in there. Now, these new special 5-rounders, I guess the Diaz rules, I guess, is how we're looking at this, because it's Nate Diaz and now Nick's getting one. I imagine you've got to negotiate that. So that in most contracts, it doesn't necessarily just state 5 rounds. It states for a main event, because obviously with the main event comes extra media obligations and extra PR obligations and those sort of things that have to be done. So therefore, most contracts do have kind of a kicker, if you will, that would be involved in them. Same thing with a title fight, although normally you get a chance to negotiate when you get a title fight as well, so you can normally get a new deal. But normally there are clauses in there that are already taken care of for that. So at the end of the day, it just boils down to what your manager negotiates for you and what the UFC is willing to give. But if a special situation, you've got to negotiate in there. By the way, Muna had also asked about Miesha Tate as well. She asked if she would be going back to one championship after she's fighting in the UFC. My understanding is that she actually left the position, not that it's on a temporary hold, that maybe it would be available to her when she comes back, but there's not any sort of guarantee or anything like that. So thank you to everybody that weighed in with the questions. Appreciate that. As I said, patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. If you can join us, sign up, support us over there, and send us a couple roadmap submissions as well, and you can help guide the show. All right, one last piece of audio I wanted to share for you. Right before we sat down to start recording this, I had a chance to speak with Gilbert Burns, a very fired up Gilbert Burns. I don't know if you've seen him on social media, but he's been throwing down. He's one of the nicest, most humble, coolest guys that you'll ever meet. He has been out there spitting fire on social media, so I thought I'd ask him about that and get caught up with a couple other things and just see where the progression of his career is. And hey, any chance I get to speak to Darren, I'm going to do that. So here's the conversation we had just a little bit before we sat down to record this. Here's Gilbert Burns. All right, so Gilbert Burns, behind the scenes, I'm always telling people what a nice guy you are. I'm saying, man, this dude is one of the nicest, happiest people you'll ever meet, but not right now. You're not playing Mr. Nice Guy anymore right now. I love this spicy new Gilbert Burns talking trash on Twitter, man. What's going on right now?
I woke up hungry and they were like, you know what? Those guys was talking shit. I'm gonna say something back, and then I target those 3 guys that were talking. I remember they asking Jorge, hey, what do you think about Gilbert performance? I said, yeah, he quit. They're like, hey, I didn't quit, I was trying to take the guy's head off. But I went too much, it got emotional, but I didn't quit, And then Leon was talking mad shit after that fight because I was just kind of criticizing his performance. I do believe he had a finish last time. He will be the one fighting for the title, and I just said it that way. And then he was just talking mad shit, and okay. And I remember Nate too, when Masvidal didn't got a fight, and they offered me the fight with Kamaru, he was talking mad shit. I said, you know what? I woke up and like, I'm gonna spit fire on these guys today. Let's see if I get a fight. And and I had fun. It was freaking funny. It's people talking shit, and I like it. And I know a lot of fans. Sometimes a couple guys get in favor, a couple guys get against. I'm just having fun. I don't care. And it was funny. I had fun, a lot of fun yesterday, and kind of today a little bit.
I love it, man. It's fun to see because it's it's a little bit out of character for you, but it's fun. I mean, you're just coming straight at. So let's talk about. I mean, listen, you fought 2 weeks ago. You had the big win over Wonder Boy, and I know you didn't love it, but it's still a win. So what I wanted to ask you, what is it about Stephen Thompson that makes him so hard to fight? Because you're obviously not the first person that had a fight with Wonder Boy and walked out of there and didn't feel like it looked amazing. You know what I mean? So what makes it so hard in there with him?
That freaking style, bro. The guy is long. First of all, he's 6 foot tall. I'm 5'10". I don't have a lot of reach against these guys. I never had. I have freaking small arms, so I had to go forward anyways. I like it, so I put my style to go forward. We kind of planned that to my side. I go forward with these guys, and I like to go forward. But these guys move so good, you know. I had to bring a guy just to kind of. As soon as I brought Raymond Daniels, and he was kind of breaking down why he does the stuff, I was learning so much, and I fell in love. I said, "Oh shit, like that's." I never thought about this shit. You guys move good. I like that footwork. And then I got a couple footworks and little things. And but the first, I'm not gonna lie, the first. So I spar with him kind of daily. Every day we spar. We didn't spar banging crazy, but we move. Let's move around. I'm gonna try to take you down. Don't let me, bro. And the guy, the first. I'm not gonna lie, the first week I didn't get close to the guy. The guy just moved and hit me, move and give me a right handed move, and I'm like, man. And then I open up and say, hey, how do I get close to you? And then he showed me a lot of footwork, a lot of things, and then I was kind of implement that to my gaming, and I'm a freaking addicted with that. As soon as I okay, that's the way. I'm gonna drill as much as I can. So every day I was doing. On the next week, I was able to get a hold of him, and then I was like, okay. And then we're just getting better, get better, better. By the end of the training, I was getting better, but uh, but it's hard. It's still very hard to fight the guy because they so fluid, they flow so nice, they light on the feet, and on the same time they can hit you very hard. The kicks, he got me a couple kicks, bro. That I still have a freaking bump right here on my arm. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that thing is big from one kick. Like wow, that guy is hard. And then I tried to kick it back, and then he freaking checked my kick, and my feet still swollen. Like man, so it was very hard to fight against him, but with all the work that I had, I think two guys were very big help. Jason Jackson helped me so much in get a hold, get a takedowns, and work. Jason freaking good, and Raymond. So those are the two guys that I use so much in making me implement that better on the fight. But freaking guy has a good takedown defense, a good movement. That style is good, and he's a freaking nice guy. That sometimes he want to play too nice that you don't want to hit the guy so nice. And if you shoot in the fight, I don't even look at him so much. I don't. I just walk in the octagon. He was just like, let's shake hands and like big smile. And then I'm like, I'm not gonna be looking at these guys, like, because he's a freaking nice guy. So that makes hard, He's a freaking nice guy, great style. Yeah, he's very tricky style. If you don't prepare well, he's gonna be a nightmare for you.
Is it like a mental challenge? Because I think a lot of people just go, well, why don't people just kind of rush them? Like, why don't you just push forward and go in? Does it start mentally confusing you a little bit, or is it just difficult to get a read?
It's very hard to take a read. If people don't realize, hey, and I don't look at the comments. I do not. But a lot of guys said, you saw that comment. The guy saying, why don't you bang with him? I said, me, you go there and bang with him. It's so hard to get on close to the guy. Like he's very tricky. He's a nice guy. He plays the decent. He plays he tried to bring you to that game. Yeah, we nice. We just sparring. No, we're not sparring. But he's very, very good. I think the one of the biggest thing was bringing Raymond Daniels to help me understand that style, and it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was very hard losing that fight to Kamaru and then bounce back and then fight another guy that is freaking good. And if you take a closer look, I lost to Kamaru on the striking, right? For sure. I got emotional. I got a little out of my way, but I lost to him on the striking aspect. And now I'm gonna fight another striker. I mean, a real striker, because Kamaru's a wrestler for sure. The guy's a completely fight at high level, but he's a wrestler. Now I'm gonna fight a freaking high level striker that has a freaking good takedown defense. On my fight to bounce back to the title, that was mentally very tough to get through. But fortunately, I was able to, to train, to prepare very well, and go out there and execute. So yeah, it was a very hard fight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, in fairness, Kamaru's turning into a pretty good striker these days too,
Very
man. He's
good.
getting a little bit better.
Very good. Guy's a freaking monster. Harsh working. He works very hard,
No doubt. So, all right, so you get the win. Like you said, it maybe not as satisfying as you like, but it's still a win over a top guy. It puts you right there at the top of the division. Now you're ready to book another fight from what I can tell. You want to go ahead and get this thing booked. and you're struggling to get these guys. Let's start with Nate Diaz. I mean, you were calling Nate Diaz out, and Nate's funny, right? I mean, he's got the fans behind him. He knows how to play the game, right? He's out here saying, I don't want to fight you. I want to fight for the title. I mean, I guess everybody wants to fight for the title, but he just lost. So what do you make of this whole Nate Diaz situation, basically saying, I don't want to fight you. I want to fight for the title.
I like him. He's freaking funny. He's a freaking entertaining. I'm not gonna. I don't like. No, I like him. I watch him. Even though he's not. I don't think he can be a champion anymore. But he's freaking entertaining. I'm not. I like the guy. I'm not gonna be the one. I'm not gonna watch. No, I'll watch it, bro. He's freaking funny. That guy. Even the way he talks, I think he's freaking funny. And I like it. I'm not gonna lie, but he was the one that started talking mad crap about me when they fought Mario, posting the Dan Hooker loss, and I was just like, man, maybe that guy wants to fight me, and I just realized he don't want to fight me. So it is what it is. I like the guy. I don't think he ever gonna fight me, to be honest, but. You know what? I was just having fun yesterday, and then I like it. I like it. And nothing against the guy. I freaking like the guy. He's funny. He's crazy. And I thought we were gonna fight, but now, as soon as he come in, I'm a gangster. These guys and blah blah. I say, let's fight. No, I'd rather fight the other guy. Say, oh, you don't want it. Okay, you don't want it. You don't want it. It's okay for me. It is what it is.
All right, so that would leave Masvidal and Edwards, right? I mean, those are the two other guys that make sense, but it sounds like they're not really biting on a fight either, right? I mean, are you hearing anything from them? Are you hearing anything from the UFC? What's going on with those potential fights?
I don't know. I already talked to Dana right after the fight, and I don't know. We're waiting on these guys. I want to fight for sure. I need a little time just to recover my body, get back in training, and then all that, and get a camp. But I'll be able to go again October, November, and those are the two guys that kind of get me going more, because first of all, Leonardo's number 3, freaking 10-win streak. That's a fight that excites me. Okay, that guy's freaking tough. He's been beating everybody. He's won a big case to fight for the title. That's a fight that I want. That guy's very tough, very good. For sure, sometimes I talk a little crap to him at time, but I wish it was him fighting for the title right now. The guy freaking deserves. Let's be honest, he's the one that deserves. Don't take Kobe away from there, but it's supposed to be Liam, so he's not. Let me fight Liam. Let's see. I don't know. That was a good question. I don't know what's going on. I called him out. He was talking mad crap too because I criticized the way he beat Nate, and then I said, okay, you talking shit. Let's fight. He's quiet, so I don't know. I hope we fight. It's one of these two guys that make a lot of sense for me, that makes me going. Masvidal, Leonardo. So let's see. I don't know. I don't know where the stakes are right now. Let's wait a little bit, but that's the fight that I want.
I would think so. To me, it looks like that's the number one contender fight, right? You and Leon Edwards, that's the fight, if you're looking at the rankings, that makes the most sense, I would imagine. You said you talked to Dana afterwards. Did you get to talk? I mean, did you actually get to speak to him? What did he say? Because he didn't love the performance, but did he say anything to you at all?
A little bit. He says it's all good. He says it's all good. I say, hey, I tried to get a finish, but the freaking guys, right? Even on the ground, people are like, why did you try to finish? You come here and try to finish. That guy was so slippery. I got a cut on my head a week before the fight. My son was playing golf. He freaking threw the golf club on my head. I got little staples here, and then when I went to the fight in the first round, I was bleeding, but that was on my head. That was already a little scratch in there. As soon as the blood hit that guy's body, he was so slippery. People have no idea. Oh, you're a grappler. Yeah, I'm a grappler, but that's freaking slippery and grappler. It's different. And I was kind of controlling him more that I got to finish and just say, done. Next time I will give a better fight. That guy is a freaking trick. And then he say, oh, good, blah, blah, blah. We talk a little bit. But I understand. As a promoter, for sure, a lot of famous, a lot of crazy, great people watching. For sure, you want to bang, but that's not the right guy to bang. Let me bang with Masvidal. Let me bang with Leon. These guys freaking want a boy. Go there and bang with him. Good luck to you.
Okay, hold on. Let's back up a little bit. You got hit in the head with a golf club or the ball? What is the club?
Yeah, my son. So oh, I just
Is that
finished
hold
my
on? Is
strength.
that in that video we saw where you and your family was all at the golf thing? Is that when it happened?
Almost. So I just finished my strength conditioning, and my strength conditioning place, IGP, they train a lot of golfers. So they have the golf club, they have the things in there, and then I already had planned with the family to go play golf at night. And then my son never plays. Hey Pedro, my oldest, come here. I'm gonna show you how to do. I don't know. I'm not professional, but I know how to play a little bit. And then I show him, hey, come, here's the club. Look how you hold it. He said, I know, Daddy. I said, I know, look, I know. I said, okay. And then I backed out. I backed away. I was very far away from him. But he swung like a freaking baseball bat. And he turns and that shit come on my head and bow, and then I was just like, man. And I was just like praying, hope he doesn't bleed, hope he doesn't bleed. And just looking. I was blood everywhere. And then I'm just like, man, then I got staples. And that was a nightmare. Then I got to I gotta hide from the commission and they take the staples out and make sure it was closed. And that's what I like to put my haircut very low like that. But at the fight it was bigger because I couldn't put as low because that freaking my son hit me so hard with the golf club. So it's crazy. I'm gonna post a video. I have the video me bleeding, and I have the video the guy stapled me on a Saturday, a week before the fight.
A week before. Oh my god, you're in there banging, training for a cage fight, doing the craziest thing, and it's on a golf range that you get busted up. Can you
My
imagine?
son, my both sons, they crazy. I like I said, I have a bump right here on my arm from the kick from one boy. And my kids think they crazy. They have a lot of energy. They think I'm playing. And you know, it's hurt. And they come and they slap me so hard where it's hurting. They pow, and they're like, oh, shit. Dad, it doesn't hurt that much. You a fighter. I said, yeah, but it hurts. After 2 hours, they come again when I don't see them. They kick me on the same place. Oh, they're crazy. They're funny, but they're crazy.
Oh man, that's amazing. Kids are a trip, man. All right, well, listen. The only other possibility I see, what if Masvidal and Leon Edwards fight? The 3-piece Minnesota, the rivalry,
yeah.
all that. Would you be okay with that, or do you feel like
Yeah.
that would be wrong?
I think they should fight. They should fight. I think that fight might happen. As I don't see just as me. I see as the UFC as the fans. That's a fight that I want to see too. Leon cannot go out with the soda. Yeah, I think they should fight. I don't know if they will, but they should fight. And I don't know that would put me a little bit behind. But then I don't care. Fight another guy. It's all good. I think the improvement that I got with the loss to Kamara and the win over Wonderboy, I'm getting to the next level. So I just want to keep getting better. For sure, I rather fight both guys, but if that fight happen, I'll watch it too. I like it.
I tell you what, man, you versus Nate Diaz, Masvidal versus Edwards on the same card. That'd be a lot of fun. Tell me that wouldn't sell some pay-per-views.
MSG, huh? MSG, that would be crazy.
MSG. Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Oh,
like
and then I wonder if they could get the title fight ready by then too, and just have it be like a welterweight showcase. Put Usman and Covington on there too. That'd be amazing. You'd have all the backups in place if anything crazy happened. You guys would all be getting ready. I don't know.
I like it. That's a great idea. Call Dana.
Hey,
call Dana.
We just did it. Matchmaking meeting's done. We got it done. It's all good. See you guys in November in Madison Square Garden. Hey, one more thing. Hey, one more I want to ask you. This grappling match with Jake Shields, is that gonna happen?
Bro, he was I got what I kind of wanted to either say I beat a couple of teammates and then he got so mad. But I beat Jake. I beat Chrome Grace. I beat AJ Algazarm. So I'm not lying. So if you want to do it, I do it right now. Let's go. You don't need call Cheo. I think Cheo will do for sure. But even if Cheo doesn't want to do, how much you want to bet? I put 10 grand or 20. You put it. You match. We match. The winner takes all. Submission only. 30 minutes, 20 minutes. You don't need. I can call the guys from Flow Grappling or UFC Fight Pass. You can do like that. If you're not, if we can put on YouTube, me and you, I go to freaking where I think he's in Vegas now. I go to Extreme Couture.
Right.
We do right there. Call Race F. We do right there. I'm just fighting October, November. No one wants to fight me. I want to stay active. Let's grapple. I don't care. If I'm gonna grapple on between until I get my next. I'm gonna grapple for sure. Why not Jake Shields? He's so mad. I love that fight. You were there. You were there at the quintet. I
Yep.
freaking smashing him, and they say, "Oh, there was a draw." And then look at him. And the when he beat me was at submission on the ground ABI rules. I I chased that guy. The whole octagon was a little octagon. And then we went to the overtime. The overtime starts on the back. And that guy didn't try to do nothing. He was just holding on me. He won by the quick escaper. He was escaper because I was trying to finish, so he escaped it. He won by a quick escaper. Just maul him in a quintet. So I like Jake Shields, but we grapple. I don't. We fight. We grapple. We spawn. If you want, we spar. I don't care. Let's do it. I'm mauling.
We got to book that. That'd be a great. I mean, grappling is exciting right now. That'd be a great match between you two guys. Let's do it again. I think we got to make that happen.
I mean, let's do it. Chael, flow grappling. Let's do it.
I'm putting in some phone calls. All right, yo, I've taken enough of your time. I'm gonna let you go take care of your crazy kids. Who knows what they're doing behind the scenes, man, with all that energy. But let's sum it up. October, November, that's ideal for you, right? October, November, that's what we're looking at. And Edwards would be the fight that you'd probably most want. But Edwards, Masvidal, Diaz, all those interesting to you?
Yes. That on that number. Leo number 1, Masvidal number 2, Diaz. If you want it, if they want, they can get it. You can get it if you really want, and then we'll see. But October, 3 rounds. If it's 5 rounds, then we go November.
Perfect. Look forward to it. Well, hopefully we get a grappling match in between then, and maybe we can get this Madison Square Garden welterweight super showdown all set up.
I like it. Let's do it.
All right, always a pleasure hearing from Gilbert Burns. Obviously, there's a ton that we could talk about there as far as what's going on, but the big one to me, I didn't say it. I stopped myself short, but when he said he's down for this grappling match with Jake Shields, and he started naming off organizations, I started to throw Fury Pro Grappling into the mix and say, hey, man, why don't we host it there? But I didn't want to volunteer an event for my bosses over there when I don't really have the power to do that. But I did say, as soon as I got off the phone with Gilbert, I will say I texted Rob Haydack over at CFFC, and I was like, hey, Gilbert Burns and Jake Shields want to have a grappling match. Like, what do you say we do a Fury Pro grappling event, put that as the main event, and we'll put that on UFC Fight Pass. So fingers crossed, maybe we can make something happen.
It's a match.
I know, right? I'm telling you, I would love to see that. I would love to see that. So we'll see what happens. All right, listen. Obviously UFC on ESPN 27 we'll be covering this week. A couple last things I want to share. A thought that I had. Marion Renault. I didn't really think about it on this past week. I didn't talk about it much on the and a half episode, but I just want to say real quick, she set the tone for how MMA retirements should go. I mean, she didn't talk a lot about it until it was time, and then she made it clear that was going to be it. And I will say this: I saw her posts on Instagram afterwards, and it was so cool. I mean, she didn't get the win, obviously. That would have been the Cinderella story. She didn't get that, the storybook ending. But it was so cool, man. If you go back and look at her Instagram, there's like a picture of her and her whole team, like over at the Las Vegas sign, the Welcome to Vegas sign, and they've all got their shirts on, their Last Dance shirts, or so they could all celebrate that moment together. She had her son in the corner with her. I mean, just didn't get the results she wanted, but it was so cool that her whole family and friends and squad all got to soak it in. They all got to celebrate it. They all got to know it and share in that moment together. And I don't know, there was something kind of inspiring about that. It seems like MMA retirements are either, too early and they're coming back, or too late and you wish they wouldn't have taken some added damage, or, spur of the moment type decisions. But I just thought it was so cool that their whole crew and squad got to soak it in together and celebrate it together, and her family got to partake in it too. I just shout out to Marion Renault. I think she set the bar for what an MMA retirement should be. And one other note I wanted to say was shout out to a friend of yours and mine that we hadn't seen in a long time. I got to meet up with, but John Wayne Troxel, of course, who we met over in South Korea, and honestly one of the most memorable experiences we've had in fight week coverage. Going to feed the troops over at the base on Thanksgiving in South Korea. And he was the commanding officer over there and went on to do some amazing things at the Pentagon and is now finally retired. But saw him in Las Vegas this week. It was cool to kind of relive that experience, because that was a cool one, man. I know you as a military brat, you enjoyed it, feeding the troops, and man, just being over there and getting to give back to those kids. I'll be honest with you, man, especially with their buzz cuts and stuff, man. They're kids out there defending the country.
Yeah, there were some youngins. I remember when we were sitting down chatting with some of them afterwards, I was like, my gosh, you look every bit of 18, 19, whatever, 20 years old, and some of them were. I was like, man, they're all fresh-faced babies. But no, that was awesome. Anytime you could do something like that, it's amazing. Anytime you get the ability to go on some of these bases and get to see these soldiers do what they do and in their element, when they're proud of showing what they do, and we got to see some really, really cool stuff. So that was a memory that I'll have forever. And Command Sergeant Major Troxell's a badass. I mean, his highest position, that last one he was the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's pretty much it's the highest ranking enlisted person that there is. There's only I forget how many that have taken that position, but not everybody makes it up to that position. Not everybody makes it to Command Sergeant Major, but then to get also the opportunity to go actually serve the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is pretty impressive. So yeah, the dude's a stud, and he's all about it. The E-Tool Nation. Yeah, and all the other stuff. So yeah, no, it's very, very cool. So yeah, hopefully when he comes back, we can do some more stuff. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool when I saw that you were able to meet up with him and stuff. So that very, very cool.
It was fun to see him, and he's a huge MMA fan, and he was telling me about some things happening. It was cool. It was good to catch up with him. So it brought back a memory that I know you and I both enjoyed. So hopefully we can both catch up with him when he's back here in August, when he's planning on coming back. So anyway, that's enough for today. I think we've talked about UFC on ESPN 27, shared plenty of interviews. It's going to be a good one. I can't hype it enough. To me, I get awesome. It's not title fights. This isn't pay-per-views. But, some of these weeks we say, well, if you want to catch the highlights or watch this one. No. Tune in, sit down, 7 p.m. Eastern for the prelims. 7 p.m. We got the same time for the prelim and the main cards. MMA Junkie is failing me right now. I have to go in and fix that.
I wonder if Fighting's got it right. Let me go to their site.
I've never heard of that website, sir. I don't know what you're talking about. Damn it.
You gonna watch BKFC before?
Oh yeah, Friday night. Got to check that out, right? I know you're gonna watch it.
Well, I don't know if I am. I don't to actually pay for it. I'm like,
Paige Van Zandt.
There's only one fight I'm interested. That's the only fight I'm interested in.
I knew you'd be interested in that fight.
Yes, that would be the fight of the night for sure.
I will be tuned in. I'll be watching that. I should mention that. Yeah, we do have Danny Segura out there covering it. I'm so hyped up by UFC on ESPN 27. We didn't even really talk about BKFC, but Danny Segura is out there covering it. So if you want full coverage of BKFC and Van Zandt versus Ostovich, get it at MMA Junkie. Otherwise, tune in to us this weekend. Make sure you're right over at patreon.com for the and a half, and enjoy your weekend, and thanks for listening.